19, I was driving to strangers' houses every single day, selling life insurance, had about $6,000 saved up, and no idea what I actually wanted to do with my life. I just knew I did not want to keep doing life insurance. I'm 21 years old now, about to be 22 in a few weeks, and 2.5 years ago, I was 19 years old, selling life insurance, going to college full-time for business. I was also working an overnight hotel job, 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, over 60 hours a week. And I was also cleaning my very first Airbnb unit myself while managing it an entire hour away from my hometown. So it's safe to say I was working about 3 full-time jobs at that, all while trying to figure out what my purpose was and what I actually wanted to do with my life. Now I'm 21 years old. I'm averaging $50,000 to $60,000 every single month while running my own 2 companies. And in this video, I'm gonna break down my exact story and how I got from that 19-year-old kid selling life insurance to the person I am now, making $50,000 to $60,000 a month on autopilot. Now, this whole thing started when I was 19 years old, right? I was working a full-time job, selling the life insurance. I ended up leaving life insurance at 19 years old after making over 6 figures selling life insurance. I left the life insurance kind of career and I went and transitioned into another W-2 job where I was making about $900 a week. During that time in my life, I was really just trying to figure out, how can I get to the next level? How can I escape the system? How can I escape this rat race? And that's when I found Airbnb. I always knew that I wanted to invest in real estate because obviously that is where the most millionaires or even billionaires are created. So I started looking into real estate and what I could get into as a 19-year-old kid that was so low barrier to entry that I didn't have to have $50,000 or $100,000 to get started. And that's when I found Airbnb. So during the duration of working this W-2 job, and just to give you guys context, I was actually working for a fireplace cleaning company. So I was going around cleaning and repairing people's fireplaces. And if you guys know what that is, creosote and all these, the ash and everything, basically every day I was going home smelling like I'd been set on fire. And I knew this is not what I wanted to do. It was just a temporary thing to hold me while I found my right vehicle and what I wanted to do as far as investing. Well, while I was working that job, that's when I found Airbnb. I actually found my first mentor by the name of Sean Rockagy on YouTube. I studied his YouTube channel for a full 3 months every single day, studying, watching videos, understanding the concept behind the business model, number one, and then understanding the nitty-gritty in between and how I could actually use this and implement the information. And while I was studying those videos, after that 3-month period, I felt like I had a good enough understanding of what the business model was, how I could get in and get started with the amount of money I did. And I built up the confidence. So after that 30-day period is when I opened my LLC, my first LLC for my real estate company, which I still have to this day. Opened the LLC, and then 2 weeks later, after my LLC came back approved, I was 19 years old at the time. I had minimal credit. I think my credit score was like a 650 or something like that. Wasn't anything crazy. I barely had anything reporting on my credit, but I had done some research and I heard about business credit cards. So I went online at 19, 650 credit score, brand new business, and I got $5,000 combined on 2 business credit cards that I went online and applied for. Well, after I got that approval for that $5,000, I knew I had to use this strategically to really kickstart my business and how I was going to make this momentum roll faster. So I took that $5,000, I spent the entire thing on a mentorship with Sean Rockagy. 2 weeks after joining Sean's program, I ended up getting my very first Airbnb unit an hour away from my hometown. I actually found this person on Facebook Marketplace. I went out and pitched the business. I set up a tour of the place, number one. And when I went to tour that place, I pitched my business model to them in person at the tour. So I told them what I planned on doing with the property, how my business model works, handled all their objections right there in person, and I signed the lease the same night. About 5 days later, I got the property set up and ready to be listed on Airbnb and these other third-party platforms. And this was March 7th of 2024 that I listed and signed the lease for that property. That first summer of 2024, I made $60,000 on Airbnb, which was over double of what my salary was working at that W-2 job. And after that, I realized wow, not only did that risk pay off, but this is something I can grow on and continue to build. If I can make this amount of money in this short period of time at this, 19 years old, imagine what can happen if I really dive in and learn the whole system inside and out. And that is exactly what I did. So that first 9 months of 2024, all the way up until January, I was working the overnight hotel job. So I left the fireplace cleaning company, went to an overnight hotel job to learn more about hospitality and kind of just fit with my schedule anyway. So I was working 11 to 7 there at the hotel job, Monday through Saturday. I was going to college full time in person at that. So it was 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Thursday. So as soon as I got off work, I had to go and clock into college. So I was up for like 16, 17 hours at a time. And then on top of that, after I got out of school, some days I needed to go and clean my Airbnb unit an entire hour away. So I'd have to drive there, get my supplies, clean the unit, get it ready for the next coming guest, and then head back home, go to sleep, and do it all over again. Well, throughout that entire 9 months, all the way up until January of 2025, I was also focusing on building my personal credit score. So I tested everything on myself before I ever implemented it into anyone else. And fast forward to January of 2025, I got my credit score up to a 780 at 20 years old. January of 2025, I got my first $50,000 in business funding. Once I got that at 20 years old, which is the most amount of money I'd ever had at one time in my entire life. Once I got that, I knew this was my chance to really make things happen. And that's exactly what I did. I started reinvesting into my Airbnb company. So I got 2 more units within 60 days of getting that funding. Actually, 3 more units. I take that back. I got 3 more units within 60 days of getting that funding. But in my head the entire time, I was thinking, if I'm 20 years old and I can do this for myself. At the time, I had little knowledge about the business funding world and credit world. I was kind of just following. I was like, if I'm 20 years old and I can do this, I can create a business and help people do the exact same thing. In March of 2025, a year anniversary after I started my Airbnb company and got my very first unit, I opened my consulting company. And immediately after that is when I started implementing my story, my strategies, exactly how I got to where I was going in a 9-month period, into complete strangers, friends, family. And fast forward another year to April of 2025, I have helped over 200 people not only fix their credit, but also change their life through credit. Now, rewind back to March of 2025, right? That's when I started my consulting company, opened it up and everything, got my LLC, and really started planning on how I was about to start helping people. Fast forward a month later, 30 days, that's when I got my first credit repair client, April 15th of 2025. And then after that, after April 15th, it slowly just started building. Every month was doubling. My first month in credit repair, that first month of April 2025, I guess you could say 2 weeks, I made $2,500 doing credit repair. May, I ended up doing $5,000. Then June, I ended up doing $7,500. October of last year, I hit my first 5-figure month, which was a $10,000 month for me. And after that, it slowly just started to double. November, I hit like $20,000. December, which I over doubled, was my first $50,000 month. December of 2025. And now from January of 2026 all the way to May 1st of 2026, I have been averaging $50,000 to $60,000 a month doing credit repair and also helping people get business funding, use their credit to start businesses, and leverage the system instead of letting it play you. And I realized the power behind that knowledge and that skill was way more valuable than any other vehicle I had ever attempted to learn or try before. Throughout that whole process, it was obviously a humbling experience, and I'm very blessed to be in the position I am today, just to be able to bless people, with the snap of a finger and help someone elevate their life in ways they never even knew was possible. But I also realized this is such an impactful thing, and it spread so quickly, and that's exactly what it did. I started so quickly building a reputation around the consulting business because of how impactful I was being in people's lives. I was helping people with $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, and the average person has never had that amount of money at one time or ever seen that amount of money at one time. It spread like wildfire. People started talking, referring me, this, that, and the third. And to this day, I think today, before I even recorded this video, I've had 10 people text me trying to get in for credit repair, being referred from other clients I've done in the past or even current clients. So it's a very humbling experience and very blessed experience. I'm so thankful to be in the position I am today, to be able to help people elevate their life. And I'm so glad I took that risk initially to really put myself in that position, because I always think back on it, the butterfly effect. If I never took the risk from working at that fireplace company to really divulge the money I had saved up into investing into something, if I never started that Airbnb company, imagine all of the lives that would still be the exact same, including mine. I would have not been able to change hundreds of people's lives. I would have not been able to get hundreds of thousands of funding, but help hundreds of people change their life, not only financially, but their families' lives, their friends' lives. So it's a very blessed experience. I'm very thankful I did what I did, because if I didn't, hundreds of people's lives would be completely different, including mine. And to give you guys context, I've never had money growing up. My family was actually poor, like boiling bath water on the stove kind of poor. You know, I always went to school in Walmart shoes and cheap clothing and stuff like that, which never really bothered me, but ultimately during my early years, you know, that did affect how people viewed me. I did have, you know, people all the time comment on those things, which I never really let get to me too hard, really until I got to high school, to where I realized, like, I can use this as motivation. I can use this as fuel to show people not only what's possible, but that I can do it. And I really wanted to prove to myself and my family and help people get out of that position, because my ultimate passion is helping people. I've always wanted to create a business around that, and now that I have, you know, I'm super blessed. I've helped my family fix their credit. I've helped my family start investing, get my little brothers on the right track, all these things. And it's so crazy to think back, you know, as a little kid, I started working at the age of 10 years old. I used to fix lawnmowers, weed eaters, stuff like that. I literally used to go with my grandpa and pick up scrap metal off of the people's curves, stuff that they're throwing away, and take it to the junkyard just to make a little money at 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So I've always been a hustler, and I always, you know, knew that whatever I was going to do, whatever vehicle I found, I was going to apply myself to the fullest extent and at least try my best, my absolute best, to make it work. Because at the end of the day, worst case scenario is you learn something. It's the absolute worst case. If you don't try anything, you're just going to be in the same spot you were, and you'll stay stuck in that same spot, letting the system play you, staying stuck in that rat race. At the end of the day, starting something new, putting yourself out of that comfort zone is scary. It's a hard thing to do because it's so unfamiliar. You're doing things you've never done. That's scary within itself. But at the end of the day, if you never do that, you're never going to excel. You're never going to move forward. You're never going to, escape the rat race. You're never going to escape the system. But if you do, worst case is you fail and you learn something. That's the absolute worst case, is you learn and you move forward. Because those learning lessons is what teaches you how to really grow, not only as a person, but excel in life, succeed. And to those people that are just on the ropes, on the fence to trying to do something like that, my advice to you is do it. Don't wait. Tomorrow is not promised. As for everybody, I may not be here tomorrow. You may not be here tomorrow. So why are you living in fear of what could happen? To me, that's more scarier than anything. Not reaching my full potential, not being the person I know I could be. Just because of the outside perspectives and how people view you, erase that. Let it go, because at the end of the day, you have to do it for you, and nobody's going to do it for you. And if you never take that step, you're never going to ever get a step closer to reaching your full potential. So that's my story. From 19, selling life insurance, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, sitting in old people's houses every day, seeing the nastiest of the nastiest, ultimately still helping people, but sitting in old people's houses every day, to now running and owning two very successful companies, one being this consulting company, making $50,000 to $60,000 a month at 21 years old. I never really set out to open a credit and funding business. It wasn't what I originally planned, but I'm so grateful and thankful that I found this by just taking that initial risk for Airbnb. Because if I never did again, so many people's lives would be completely and drastically different, including mine. I would never be making this amount of money that I'm making now, and I would never have been able to help all of my clients make the amount of money they're making now. But every single thing I've built, the Airbnb business, my credit and funding company, everything I've ever built has stemmed from the understanding of how credit works. Everything has stemmed from that. That is the original root. So if your credit needs work, if you're watching this and you know you have bad credit and you know you need it as a tool, what I would recommend is joining my $97 a month school community, where I do done for you credit repair, but also credit optimization to help you use your credit as a tool, access large amounts of capital to invest, and ultimately change your life in a complete 180 to take you to that next step financially, and also help your friends, your family, and your people closest to you do the exact same thing. If you would like to join that, if you'd like my assistance helping you repair your credit, the link is in the description. check it out. I'd love to help you guys get to that next level. And if you're watching this and you're thinking about how to start your own credit and funding business the exact same way I did, through a mentor, someone that's been there, made those mistakes, learned the game, and has all the knowledge just like I did, that's what I do now through my consulting mentorship for a small group of people that are actually serious about taking their life to the next level, but also helping other people take their life to the next level. I only have 9 spots left at the moment for my consulting mentorship. It's very limited. There's a high demand for it as well. The second link in the description will tell you exactly what working with me and working together to build your own credit and funding company will look like. I'll see you on the inside.